your job? What does he think he is? The Oscars or the Grammys? Come on, give him credit. I want the two strikers to describe how delicious that was.
It was very delicious, Micah. You can see the giveaway with him. He's trying to hide all his emotion, but that eyebrow just that went up quite high. Good morning, gents. It's a Thursday morning after the night before of Champions League football. Well, 2 nights of Champions League football. Quite entertaining games, weren't they?
Just a bit. I thought, the atmospheres at both stadiums was just incredible, wasn't it? For a player to play in that environment, amazing. And the games didn't disappoint. Controversy, great football, great goals. They had everything, didn't they?
Honestly, what about Madrid? Seriously, it's not normal what they're doing now. It's not normal. Do you remember a couple of seasons ago when they beat Man City late doors, PSG and Chelsea?
Yeah.
And this season, you're looking at their team and you're thinking, they've got some superstars, but, they've got certain weaknesses that you can exploit. And as the game goes on, so when it was getting to, the latter stages of the game, we're all saying Real Madrid are going to score. I don't know how, I don't know when, but before the time's up, they're going to score.
Yeah.
And
well, they missed a few chances, didn't they, throughout the night? And then Neuer was a superhuman for most of the game. And then he, of all the people, he just spills it at his feet. Are they the best team or the most mentally strong team or just the luckiest team in the history of football?
all of the above. The mentality, though, is ridiculous. To keep going and going and going, even when it looks like you're down and out. And I don't know if the Kane substitution changed things a little bit in terms of just him holding onto the ball. And you think there's a chance of it going to extra time. Should Kane be coming off? And I'm not obviously questioning Tuchel because tactically he's normally so bang on it, but it's just if it was a chance of going, you can't get rid of Harry Kane because he's the only one getting hold of the ball and it just played into Real Madrid's hands. And Joselu, is that how you pronounce it, Gary? Joselu, is that right?
Joselu.
Joselu, okay. Have you seen his career? Please. He's been you probably know more than anyone, Gary, but he's had such a roller coaster career. And then he gets back to Madrid after doing well in La Liga last year. Was it Espanyol, I think it was. And then he goes and scores 2 in the semi-final. It's just bonkers. I can't fathom what I was watching last night. I really can't.
I was amazed that, I know he perhaps has said that Harry was injured, but I was amazed he took him off for all of those things you said, Micah, for his ability to hold the ball up, to if you just need someone to protect the ball, when the ball's coming up instead of coming straight back at you. And there's still time left. And if they score, you think, well, it might be extra time and there might be penalties. And it's I was really surprised at that substitution, if it didn't need to be made. And Joselu. I have to admit, I never saw that. I watched him at Newcastle, and there was never anything but he gave it all, and you could never fault him for trying and all of those things. But 2 goals in the semi-final of the Champions League for Real Madrid, I would have lost a lot of money on that, lads.
Yeah, night of his life.
My God!
No question.
Well done to him, man. Well done to him. It was brilliant for him.
I was with you on the Kane decision, sitting down watching couple of my boys, and we were going, what? They're only 1 goal up, 2 goals up, so you could sort of say, well, maybe, but one, and the chances that there were going to be at least 5-10 minutes of injury time, and you just thought, well, and as you say, penalties. I mean, he's just, I don't know, unless he had a tweak or something, but no one said that. So
did you see the referee though? The referee, and we'll come to the controversy a little bit later on, but when he started holding up 2 minutes, remaining in the crowd, I'm like, just do your job. What does he think he is? The Oscars or the Grammys? I'm confused into, you're the referee. You obviously, there was goals and all that, so obviously there's going to be more time. And the Real Madrid fans were whistling, to say time up. Yeah. And he's like saying there's 2 minutes left. But then the game finished at like minute 115 or 14. It was ridiculous.
Micah, I'm just going to say before we get to his decision, he was the same referee in Paris Saint-Germain that gave PSG the fucking penalty against Newcastle. The same referee.
Right, Micah.
I'm not saying anything else.
At least you're over it, Al.
Why are you talking about that, though? Why are you talking about that, Alan? Are you not, like, gutted that Dortmund was in your group, PSG was in your group? Obviously, Milan went out a little bit earlier, but it just shows you on the day, anytime. I'm looking at Newcastle in that group, and I remember I went to the game at Newcastle at PSG when they obliterated them. I'm thinking, Newcastle have got a chance here, and then PSG were a whisker away, and Dortmund have got to the final. Football in the Champions League is just bonkers. It's bonkers. It's
knockout football, isn't it? He was also the same referee, of course, that did the World Cup final, former footballer. So, although he's not to blame for last night's howler when his assistant put the flag up. Clearly, when it was, it was a very tight call. Also, clearly, when it was a very dangerous situation in the box, which is obviously part of it. He had a bit of a shocker, didn't he? Really, because
he was too early.
He was too early, yeah.
Too early.
We've been a bit critical at times this season. Well, I've not, but a lot of pundits are about referees keeping their flag down when it's quite obviously offside. But
yeah, but
I suppose, but that was tight as they come. They do seem to get things go for them.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, you said it wasn't the referee's fault there as well. I totally agree with you on the first decision. But the referee still doesn't have to blow his whistle. He can let it play out.
He has to trust his assistant on. If he's put his flag up, he's going to blow his whistle.
100%. I agree with that. But just and the line, like, if you're in doubt, just let it go. You've got the cameras there anyway to protect you.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And I'm passionate about this because Real Madrid, in my opinion, deserve to win anyway. But you can't go through on a decision or not go through, disallow a goal on an error like that when we've got so much technology. It's just not fair. It's just not right, is it? I didn't agree with that at all.
It was a cock-up.
It was.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. I agree. That's the law is, or the rule is, or whatever you want to call it, is that if it's that tight, and it was incredibly tight. I mean, on the eye looking along, I couldn't tell at
I thought he was
first,
probably
second
just
view
on,
that.
but
He might have been just on. So the assistant was wrong to put his flag up so quick when it was a genuine chance of being a really dangerous situation.
Well, you've only got to look at the winning goal, haven't you? Because the linesman put his flag up. I know he didn't have any time to blow his whistle in that period, but it went with them and it didn't go. It was a tough one, but I agree with you, Mike. I thought Real Madrid played really well.
I do, yeah.
Vinicius Junior, my goodness me, can he beat people? I mean, he had a bad night finishing, albeit Neuer played. I mean, just life as a goalkeeper, eh?
Oh, who would be a keeper, man?
Oh,
honestly.
Some of the saves he made, and it was like, wow. And then he just, oh, God, life as a goalkeeper.
It was a double save, wasn't it, guys? A double save, Vinicius and Rodrigo.
Incredible.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was a good save from Harry Kane as well, by the way.
Yeah.
The one, wasn't it, the other end? Yeah, that was, so yeah. I mean, the life of goalkeepers.
So it just shows you, doesn't it?
After being such a great goalkeeper, Neuer, and putting in a great performance before that, and then to give that error away, it was like, I mean, it was one of the most basic things he probably would have done in his career, was going, and then to let it slip out, it was like, oh, goodness me.
And you mentioned there, Gary, Vinicius, and we sort of went to Neuer because Neuer was incredible until obviously made that. Honestly, watching him, it's not just his pace and his skill, though. If you watch his runs and how intelligent he is and where he waits and all that and he's finishing. I was doing a bit of analysis before the game and we've seen him on that left-hand side, but what I like about him, he works hard as well and he can adapt to if he has to play the number 9 and he always shows up on the biggest stage. I just think he's incredible. Mbappe is always my favourite player. But you know, over obviously the semi-finals, you need someone to step up. And I'm not saying Mbappe didn't step up because it's different teams, different tactics and all that. But Vinicius seems to be always there. And if Mbappe goes to Real Madrid, which it looks like he is, it's going to be interesting how they fit together, you know?
Yeah, because obviously they like to play in a similar position. I think they're kind of similar until it comes to finishing, and I think Mbappe clearly has
edges it, yes.
I mean, that's the one thing you could say about Vinicius Junior. He doesn't probably score enough goals for the ability that he's got, but having those two in the same team, which one would you pick? You'd leave the other out, I suppose. Or...
it's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah. Don't forget they've got Endrick as well, haven't they?
Yeah. Well,
remember the boy we watched at Wembley?
Yeah, came on and scored.
We'll be getting that in the Q&A thing next week.
Yeah.
Start benching.
Oh, God. But Ancelotti, though, I mean, his record in football now is almost second to none, really.
Did you see him? I mean, he's like Cool Hand Luke. I mean, even when they were like desperate for a goal, he still is calm as anything on the touchline. And then they score, and he still just keeps it all together. He's just, I mean, I don't know. I suppose like
you can see the giveaway with him. He's trying to hide all his emotion, but that eyebrow that went up quite high when they equalised. But
what a manager, man! Gee, it's like incredible, yeah, unbelievable to go through the years of. And we always talk about how players' attitudes change, football changes, and everything else, and then for him to still be going and still be successful, it's like what a career.
Yeah.
I feel as though like he's, I don't want to say disrespected, but you know when every time you're mentioning great managers, Ancelotti's name sort of always comes up, but I hate that word, well, he's not a tactician. Like, there's different ways to handle games. And there's quotes from him basically saying that he gives the power to the player and he trusts in what they, and gives them the confidence and all that. But he's still got to change things at the right times, decide when to go for it, when to drop off, bring off Toni Kroos and them sort of thing, bring Modric on and then bring off Tchouaméni and then book Camavinga. These are all tactical decisions. Yes, he might have a coach beside him who makes more the tactical decisions, but you've still got to do it, haven't you?
Well, you're not telling me that he's not tactically astute. You can't. I mean, he's Italian for a start, and they're all tactically astute. But he does seem to have the Midas touch. I mean, he brought Joselu on, as we talked about. In the 81st minute, and scores 2 goals, which was extraordinary. But even with his system, yes, he changed things around. I mean, they kind of played almost a 4-4-2 in a way.
Yes, that's exactly what they played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, which was, it's not something that you would expect. He's obviously looked at them and thought this is something that we can, use our pace against. I mean, I understand. I think Kimmich, he's having surgery this morning to redo his legs because they were all twisted into knots. I felt for him. He could not handle Vinicius, could he at all? He was like one way, then the other way, and
he makes it look stupidly easy the way he goes past players, doesn't he? I mean, his balance is like off the charts, isn't it? The way he feints one way and goes the other, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah, I felt a bit for Alphonso Davies come on and score that wonder goal, and then not to be the heroes. I know it was a tough one, but what a goal!
Yeah. Unbelievable finish. Yeah. A fullback's finish as well. Come on, give him credit. I want the 2 strikers to describe how delicious that was.
It was very delicious, Micah. So, Dortmund in the final for Real Madrid. Real Madrid will obviously be seriously strong favourites. Dortmund kept a clean sheet twice against PSG. We've already talked about the fact that Mbappe didn't quite perform, but that's very rare, to be perfectly honest. And
in both games he didn't really, did he? You've got to give them great credit for that, Dortmund, and the way they played, the way they set up. And like Micah, Dortmund and PSG were in Newcastle's group, having watched them closely in the group, I didn't see either of those teams, particularly Dortmund, going to the final. So respect to them for getting there. They didn't really give Mbappe a kit because he just didn't have any space. The way they set up, they defended unbelievably well as a team, and they deserved it. Yeah, they were magnificent over the two legs in the semi-finals.
Yeah, they had a bit of luck. How many more times can you get into the Champions League semi-final podcast? Look back, and how many mentions of Newcastle can you get in? Do you think? I think I've got you. I think I've got you up to about 5 already.
I think it was called the Group of Death, wasn't it, Micah?
It was for Newcastle.
It was indeed, Alan. The Group of Death. That's exactly what it was.
Matt Hummels keeps going, doesn't he?
I know, yeah.
I mean, he's kind of not the quickest. He never was, but he can play. And what a header, yeah.
I'm sure Max Hummels is my age, I think he's like 35. I think he's born in 88 because, when you're coming through as a youngster and you're always looking at your competition at that age, and there was Hummels around that age, there was Jerome Boateng around that age, and I always thought, what was the hype about him? Because he wasn't particularly fast, it wasn't particularly strong, but as his brain is next level, reading the game, and obviously he went to Bayern and it didn't work out for him as we all have hoped. But then go back to Dortmund, get to a Champions League final, and his display was outstanding. Forget the goal, do you know what I mean? His whole round game over the 2 legs, he was magnificent. It really was. And these players that are not blessed physically, but be able to read the game and impose yourself on a game in a different way at that level for so many years, it's remarkable. Wow.
Yeah, it really is. Marco Reus as well. Final game for Dortmund after I think 12 years there. He came through the academy. His final game for Dortmund will be the Champions League final. Great story.
Not a bad way to go out.
It was because he missed the World Cup, didn't he? He got injured for Germany. He's had so many injuries, and he's the one who's been linked away so many times, and he stayed loyal to Dortmund, and then he gets the injuries. What a send-off it would be for him. I really hope they can get something.
It's amazing what they've achieved, Dortmund, isn't it? When you
really
think of it, I mean, Leverkusen, flying, top of the league. Bayern Munich, I mean, what are they? Are they 4th or 5th in the league? 5th?
Yeah.
It's like, what? I mean, what an achievement it is. It's incredible, isn't it?
Losing Haaland and losing Bellingham.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, they're incredible. They get players young and then sell them for a fortune and still manage to compete somehow.
And getting Sancho.
That was going to be my next thing, Jadon Sancho's. Now, obviously was at Dortmund, went to Manchester United and on big fanfare, and it didn't quite happen for him. All sorts of issues and problems, and now he's back at Dortmund and he's in a Champions League final. And I think he might be sticking his middle finger up at 1 or 2 people at United.
It's not a good look, is it? You're at one of the biggest clubs, if not the biggest club in the world, and it doesn't work for you for whatever reason, whether you're not getting on with a manager or whatever, then you go back to Dortmund and you end up flying again and getting to a Champions League final with a real chance of winning it. It's not a good look for Man United, is it?
Well, they've not had many good looks lately, have they?
True. Yeah.
I just wanted to throw the question out because we was discussing it on the Champions League, and there was Del Piero in the studio last week, and he was saying he's a player for Man United. And I agree with that in terms of ability-wise. But obviously, he'd gone to Dortmund. He obviously started at Man City, gone to Dortmund, gone to Man United. It's not worked out because obviously the pressures are different with 2 different clubs. Expectations are different. And I'm saying, if I'm Jadon Sancho, this is before it got to the final, he has to stay at Dortmund. Why would you go back? into the unknown at Man United, wait for them to get it right when he's loved and cared for at Dortmund and he can perform in an environment which he's clearly comfortable with? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if he has the choice, I suppose.
The choice, yeah.
That's first and foremost. I suspect, I always think happiness is the most important thing. You can never guarantee that in football, of course, but none of us are aware of exactly what went on at Manchester United, whether it's just maybe a spat with the manager that he couldn't work for him, it's not worked. And to be honest, having watched them get demolished by Crystal Palace a few days ago, and they're all over the place, aren't they? And I think it's quite hard to judge Manchester United players on individually, because when a club's struggling, when a team's struggling, that has a knock-on effect. But I suppose I'm with you, Micah. I would think that he'd probably want to stay, but you don't know. He might want to prove a point. He might want to come back and show that he's got the talent that we all thought he had, and so. Yeah,
I think it all depends on what may happen at Man United also. I said, didn't I, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever happens, I think there'll be a new manager in charge, because it always does when new owners come in, etc. So I suspect he'll look at that scenario and that situation, who goes in there.
That'll be the big question. So there'll be, a lot of places like that this summer. But yeah, who's going to win the final then? Real Madrid or Dortmund? Real Madrid always win finals. That's another one of the things that they do. They win Champions League finals anyway.
You can't bet. You can't. If you bet against Real Madrid, you just look stupid. You know, you just do. No matter what, you can go. You can analyze the game. You can pick up all the weaknesses. You can break it down tactically, look through and think, okay, they didn't do this. But I don't know if it's the badge, the 14 European Cups that they've won. I don't know what it is. Obviously, they've got great players. But, yeah, if I'm going into a final, you got to pick one. You have to go with Real Madrid, don't you? You just have to, because otherwise you look silly.
Massive favourites they'll be.
Yeah, they will be, yeah.
Yeah, what a first season it would be for a certain Jude Bellingham.
Wow.
It's brilliant there. How many times have we said it this season? Just incredible, staggering.
Just one thing about Jude as well. Like we've talked about him playing in this more advanced role, like number 10 for Real Madrid. But have you seen the work rate that he does? We talk about him on the ball, but off the ball, it's ridiculous. So if you need to drop him a little bit deeper for England, he can do that. And I'm not talking about the number 6. I'm just talking about a number 8 role rather than a bit further forward. He can do that, no problem whatsoever. Him and Rice, if need be, they can dominate a midfield with just their athleticism, their energy, their work rate. They can dominate it. I'm telling you.
He made some great saving tackles around the edge of his own box as well, because he's got that side to him, and he's really good on the ball, isn't he?
He's an intelligent player, man. He's such an intelligent player.
Yeah,
knows the game already. You can tell about his positioning and where and when to be. Absolutely, he could definitely do that, Micah.
And he looks like lifting the Champions League trophy alongside he's already won La Liga.
Could it be a hat-trick?
Top scorer. Not bad. Not bad, is it? Wait, what a first season. Felt for Harry Kane, I must say. I know he got substituted, which we all thought we talked about earlier was a bit bizarre, but it's going to have to be the Euros for Harry. That's the one. That's the trophy.
He'll settle for that, wouldn't he?
I would.
We would.
Is Harry Kane a little bit like you two in his obviously great players?
You're going to throw in a butt here, aren't you?
No, I'm just saying it's just about the timing though, isn't it? That's all it is. It's just, if you go to Man United, Alan, you get 10 Premier Leagues. I mean, if you go to Barcelona early, or if you go to Everton or stay at Everton for a consecutive period of time, then you get more. It's just all about timing, and I feel sorry for him because, we have a laugh and joke about a Spurs better, and like points-wise, they probably are going to be better than last season when they finish this season. But obviously losing Harry Kane is massive. But to go to Bayern Munich, and he will win trophies, but all them goals and still not to win anything this season. That is just, I just can't, it's staggering. I can't believe it.
It's nuts. It'll end at some point. Hopefully this summer. We shall see. Let's switch to domestic issues. And the first is the news that Nottingham Forest's point deduction appeal failed. So they're going to remain with that 4 points deduction. That leaves them 3 points clear of safety. Did that make much sense to you guys? It was quite interesting, though. There's some strong words from the appeal board. I've got them here, actually, so I'll quote them. Some of the criticisms of the original decision have involved a minute examination of the words used by the Commission. Decisions such as these should not be subjected to microscopic forensic examination and interpreted as if they were statutes which have been drafted by Parliamentary Council. Allegations of infelicities of language or errors which are not material to the ultimate decision add to the complexity and costs of proceedings, are rarely likely to lead to a successful challenge of a decision. So Forest losses to 22-23 breached the threshold of 61 million by 34.5 million. So it's like a bit of a rebuke there. They've obviously not given them more points, because that would have been a bit crazy. But I think Forest have got a bit of attitude, certainly at the top of the club. We've seen that in recent weeks, haven't we?
Yeah, just a bit. Well, to get where they did in the first place in terms of being charged tells you that. And then with what's gone on there this season, or some of the decisions that's gone on, particularly the last 4 or 5 months, that sort of didn't surprise me. And I think with the situation that Forest are now in terms of the number of points, I don't know whether that was looked at or not, but I didn't expect them to get any points back at all. Did you?
No, I thought they would do that, and I also think that the Premier League will be enormously relieved if both Everton and Forest stay up.
Yeah. What about Clattenburg as well? He's left at his role. We didn't speak about that. We just missed it, didn't we?
Well, I think yes, that's right, because the game was on later. I think it probably put him in a slightly untenable position. That the statement from the club. I mean, obviously,
this is what you was trying to say at the very start, Gaz. When he went in there, how can it help? He's going against all these referees. He's putting more scrutiny on Nottingham Forest. The whole thing, he was just going to end this way, wasn't it? That's what he was trying to say at the very start.
Stick to gladiators.
He's very good on gladiators, man. Very good.
There'd have been a bit of a sigh, I'd imagine, probably from Luton and Burnley fans, because you live in hope. But you've got to do it yourself, haven't you? Really, is it? There's talk of a change, isn't there, in the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules? Possibly, I think they're talking about in the 25-26 season. Possibly, though, might have to wait a while.
I think it has to, doesn't it? Because the current way is, I don't think it's really fit for purpose. But how it's going to change, I'm not quite sure. There has been sort of early rumours as to what could come in, but it will change. It will change. It's just a matter of how it changes.
It's a delicate one, though, isn't it? Because I was strong about this a couple of months ago, basically saying we've got Ipswich now who are coming up. Brilliant, you know? How are they supposed to compete with Man City or Man United if they can only spend a certain amount of money? It's just not fair, is it?
I understand why they did it. They obviously did it to try and protect clubs from themselves in a certain way. But I mean, Leicester are going to be next. I'm sure. It looks like they probably have to come up and sell their best players. I mean, and obviously Leicester would be. I mentioned this before, but almost punished for their own success. You know, win the Premier League. They're top 5 for a couple of seasons. You know, they're starting to play salaries that are probably way beyond Leicester to try somehow to keep in that false position for a club like Leicester. So now, you know, because of that, the wages are really high. They go down, so they've, you know, they had trouble in the Championship. or in the Premier League. So, we as Leicester fans are a little bit nervous about what will happen.
It's not just that as well, Gary. I mean, like for Leicester as well, they've been on an incredible run. They get back up and then they have to, but it's also stopping the top players from wanting to come to the Premier League. So for the Premier League, they always talk about it's the best league in the world. It's the most competitive. But if you don't have the competitive players because teams can't afford them, then your product becomes not as great as it was. So there's a lot of thinking that needs to go on in where the bar is set, because I think we said before, was it could lose 100 million over 3 seasons?
105.
105 over three seasons. And now players are costing that alone, aren't they? So definitely needs to be looked at.
I think we saw that, didn't we, with the lack of spending in the January transfer window, didn't we? That teams were actually petrified of going over. We saw that.
I suppose, the Premier League now, it got to a stage where you could see it probably being really dominant. And because of these laws, it's hard to see that continuing. We'll see. We've seen, haven't we? Like Bellingham's gone to Real Madrid. Mbappe's almost certain, I think, to go to Real Madrid in the summer. The great players in the history of game outside of this country have generally gone to Barcelona or Real Madrid anyway, and that's not really changed. Although Haaland was probably the first one to change that. You could argue about Pogba at the time. That's kind of customary that is still the place for the superstars to go, but. It's an interesting one for the Premier League. It's I can see it from both sides because you don't want your clubs getting into a mess. But perhaps if there's a way, if the owners are putting in that money and they're not putting the club into huge debt. I mean, I don't know. It's above my pay grade into when you start to come to the business side of football. But I think they'll have to address it some way, because it's been in for quite a long time, these rules, and obviously the game and the financial side of things have moved on quite substantially.
There's something about the lowest team, isn't there, in the TV revenue in the Premier League. Is that something that they would get to that? I read, but nothing's confirmed yet.
I agree. I've noticed that Chelsea look like they're finding their feet under Pochettino. I know it's come fairly late in the season. I thought they were very unlucky at the game we all attended at Wembley against Manchester City, albeit a tired Manchester City. And unlucky at that. They started banging in a few goals, which was always the thing that they were struggling with. So I thought, as it's been mostly misery for their supporters this season, I thought we should give them perhaps a little bit more of a bit of optimism at the club.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about it, and I've been nothing but positive about Chelsea because of the way they've set up and the created chances. But Alan is right as well. When I was trying to make my case for Chelsea, and he basically said they're not putting the ball in the back of the net. If you create all these chances and don't score, then it's irrelevant, and that is what's happened. What is being the difference? If you watch Chelsea early doors, they still played quite well. They leaked bad goals, but they were still creating chances.
Do you want to know the difference, Mike? I'll tell you the difference.
Exactly. Go on.
They're getting closer to their XG.
You idiot.
That's true. Oh, come on. I've been converted. I've been converted to XG.
I like it. It's been converted. Finally, guys. Finally.
There you go.
Yes, they're now scoring goals, as you guys know. When the strikers are on form, and Jackson and Cole Palmer, even though he's been outstanding all season, that's the difference, isn't it, Al? Which you said. Go on, be smug. You said it 6 months ago. Go on.
Well, it is. It's not rocket science, is it? It's just you got to get someone to put the ball in the back of the net. When you do that, it'll half make your chances a little bit easier. And that's what they've done. I'm pleased for Pochettino, because it's been a rough year for him. Been a lot of criticism, which you're going to get, particularly at Chelsea, because they don't want to hang around. But yeah, they've done really well to get in the position that they're in.
They'll
Chelsea.
stick with him, won't they?
Yeah, they'll stick
mad
with him.
not to, wouldn't they? Surely,
they'll
he's
stick
just
with
building something there.
But let's
it's
see
a very
what
young
happens.
team.
let's see what happens in the summer at Chelsea in terms of recruitment, and maybe they'll give 10-year contracts out and what have you as well. So let's see what happens to Chelsea in the summer.
Every Chelsea, because I'm not far from Chelsea, I bump into a lot of Chelsea fans, and they're all suddenly going, they're not going to get rid of Poch. Whereas 2 months ago, I'm not sure they were that. But you know what it's like in football, with twists and turns, particularly in management, which leads me to David Moyes. He's obviously going to be leaving West Ham at the end of the season. Twice there he was managed West Ham, rescued them the first time around, and then in his second spell, this spell, he's obviously, he's got them in European football. He's taken them up the table. They've won a European trophy, but it's not enough, and it looks like being Julen Lopetegui coming in, who was at Wolves, of course, the former Real Madrid and Spanish national team manager. So a bit of change at West Ham. Has he been harshly treated, David, or is it a good, or maybe it's a good time for it to end rather than a club that's really struggling? He's leaving it in a pretty good state.
Well, I think at last he got the respect that he deserves, and there was clarity in what's happening, because he deserved that. He didn't deserve to keep on reading about them interviewing someone for a job that he was already sat in the manager's office. He didn't deserve that. He deserved more respect. He's done an unbelievable job at West Ham. He's delivered success for them. And I get that some wanted rid of him, the style of play, whatever. I understand that, and you've got to take fans' opinions into consideration. You have to, yeah. But he deserves great respect because of what he's done, what he's achieved, and I like him. I'm a fan of his, and I'm a huge fan of what he's done at West Ham. But it was probably right for both parties, and I know that we said be careful what you wish for and all of those things. So he'll get a really good job somewhere, Moyes, because of what he's achieved and who and what he is.
Incredible. It's absolutely incredible. No other word. Just think about it. How people go into management, and they're in management for a couple of years, and the way, let's take it back to even before my era, how football has changed. And for him to be able to adapt, regardless if people like his style of play or not, he's got results. He got the Man United job, always going to be tough. He goes to Spain, Sociedad. He comes back to England, and he still gets results. Wins a trophy, as Alan said, European trophy for West Ham. And the consistency is the key. To do it for that many years at the top level, it's just, I agree with Alan. Whether he felt it was the right time or not, the clarity is what he needed, and no one can question anything that he's done, because he's been a Premier League legend, hasn't he? Really, look at the amount of games.
He deserves a brilliant send off in the last couple of games. He absolutely deserves that, and he'll get one. He'll get one.
Yeah. I think, the Hammers will do him justice there, the Hammers supporters, I'm sure. I don't think we could conclude here without a little mention for Crystal Palace. Thumping Manchester United on Monday night. Brilliant performance from them. Yeah. The Crystal Palace were terrific. Well, they played some great stuff, and let's just focus on that rather than the basket case that is Manchester United at present.
They absolutely battered them, didn't they, from start to finish? They wanted it more hungry, better players, great performance, scored some wonderful goals. But Palace are a completely different team when they've got Eze and Elise in there. They're just a different outfit. They've got such a huge threat with those three up front, and Mateta as well, haven't they? They're the big hitters. They're their main players, and when they're not in the team, it's really difficult for them. But
will they be in the team next season? That's the problem, isn't it? I suppose for all clubs of that stature, whether they can keep those kind of players. They're so good, aren't they? Both of them.
Amazing. And it's not just Elise and Eze, or Eze, as people are now calling him in commentary. It changes every 2 minutes. That's annoying me. But I just want to get that out of the way. But anyway, Wharton in midfield. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. My. I knew he was going for Blackburn, and it went for big money. I think it was 20, but when I say big money for someone who we've not seen that much. And I watched him, and I thought, this guy's a player. But to go into the Premier League and do what he's doing, he's so calm on the ball, but he's aggressive, but can pass. And his left foot is, wow. It's amazing. He's another one that I'm just thinking, maybe Euros. Euros come just a little bit too soon.
Just probably come too early for him. I don't, but it is a position that obviously, we're a little bit light in that kind of defensive midfield role. So I was thinking that when I was watching the game, and I thought, God, he might be good enough. He might be, but I suspect it's probably too early because he's not had a chance to have a look at him or anything like that. But if it's that old adage, isn't it? If you're good enough, you're
a 26-man squad. There's going to be a wild card or two in there, and if that position, you need a little bit of help in the midfield. I'm not saying he deserves, but it's just he's got something special. I'm telling you. I mean, you all can see it. Yeah. You don't have to be a rocket science, but he's performed really well at Palace.
I don't think there's any chance of any of us ever being rocket scientists.
Well, you never know, Who thought I'd be sitting with you two bozos 10 years ago?
Houston, we've got a problem. And on that note, I think with a rocket up our arse, we should call it a day. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Have a good weekend.